Alright, so a few months ago I had a personal finance lecture. The lecture was focusing on how aging affects investment performances. He took out a study where the following game was played with elderly people. Suppose that you have to make a decision between losing $5 for certain or 50-50 chance between losing $8 or nothing. Which one would you choose? It was a collection of similarly phrased scenarios, but you get a point. As it turns out, a majority decided to pick the first option, as these people seem to prefer certainty. However, if we compare the expected values, we can see that in the long run, under ideal circumstances, one would expect the second option to give a better outcome. Note that I tried to emphasize on two conditions: the fact that it is for long run, and the fact that it is under ideal circumstances. If the game is to be played repeatedly, one would expect the overall outcome to converge to the expected value, and thus the name. You are pretty much guaranteed with a certainty, albeit a delayed one. But what about short run? What if we are to play the game only once? I want you to consider the following scenario. You have the option to take $1 for free or test your luck. In that case, you can try to win whatever amount you want. If you lose, you get nothing. The probability of winning is set such that the expected value equals to 1. For example, you can try to win $1 million with a probability of 1 to a million. However, we will play the game only once, so good luck winning. You will have a better chance of getting 19 heads in a row with a coin, or 7 sixes in a row with a 6-spaced die. In that case, you are pretty much guaranteed to get nothing. It is probably better to take $1 for free, even though the expected value of both cases equal to 1. But how many games are we really playing though? The fact that we are living means that we are continuously playing alternatives of this game over and over. Every minute, we are making decisions that may directly or indirectly affect our wealth and well-being. The game we just played is merely a scenario of a larger campaign. That means the long-run condition holds, doesn't it? Maybe we can use expected value to guide our decision-making. Almost. There is a small constraint, however. We don't live forever, so how long is too long? Suppose that I still have 60 years to live, and that I'm making an independent decision every minute on average. That means I still have around 31 million decisions to make throughout my life. If all the decisions that I make involve trying to win that $1 million by playing with myself over and over, I'm pretty much guaranteed to win at least once throughout my life, though I may die of starvation and poverty before that happens. And if I was to upscale the game to $1 billion, that chance would drop to merely 3%. I would need to live for another 547 years just to push that number up to around 25%. Not even worth the hassle. All I want to say is that long run is not a specific time, but rather a concept of time. What is long in one case may not necessarily be so in other cases. Now let's shift the gears a little and talk about what I mean by ideal circumstances. The first idea I want you to consider is how much does money worth to an individual? Because $1 is not always equivalent to another dollar. If I've only got $1 in my pocket and I'm going to use it to get myself home, clearly I wouldn't want to waste it on some stupid game just for the chance of winning another dollar. Because if I lose, the consequence would be more than just losing that piece of coin. I will have to walk home and possibly get my ass slapped by my peers in the process. In this case, that specific dollar will secure my precious ass, and thus is more important than some arbitrary dollar. This leads me to another point. You can't keep on losing and then try to make a comeback by continuously borrowing money. While there may not necessarily be a limit to how much you can win, there's always a limit to how much you can lose. Imagine that you're a gambler on the brink of desperation, with only $1 in your pocket. If you lose it, you are left with nothing and will try to jump off the Eiffel Tower. However, your addiction pushes you to try your luck once again, and here are the rules. You have a 50-50 chance of winning or losing. If you win, you get another dollar. Otherwise, you lose a dollar. We're going to look at the results after 6 rounds. It's just some arbitrary number to keep it simple. Using Markov chain, we get the following results. You could get fabulously rich with a grand total of $7 by the end of the 6th round. However, you would also have around 69% of chance of jumping off the Eiffel Tower out of desperation, which means it's probably better to stop gambling. However, if the lower bound was assumed to not exist, the expected value of your outcome would equal to 1, meaning you are pretty much wasting your time in the long run. The fact of your suicidal tendencies would simply be ignored. Anyway, after all that mumbling crap, the only thing I want to get across is that a world of uncertainty is more than just calculating the expected value. Otherwise, there would not be an uncertainty in the first place, and we will live happily in our fantasy of expectations.